In this video, we'll be covering the topic of hypothesis testing and understanding the method that we should use to approach all hypotheses tests. There are 6 steps that need to be taken when doing a hypothesis test. The first step is to state the null and alternative hypothesis in terms of the parameter we want to investigate to answer the research question. The null hypothesis is denoted as H0, which represents the case that no change or difference can be found. It can normally be formulated by looking at the given research question, which states the population mean we wish to investigate, while the alternative hypothesis is denoted as H1 or HA and is the opposite of the null hypothesis. We wish to either reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternative hypothesis or not reject the null hypothesis. The second step is to check the underlying assumptions of the statistical test and see if they are met. This could include using the central limit theorem if the sample size is large enough to assume that the sampling distribution is approximately normal, or looking at a histogram that has a bell-shaped curve which also satisfies the normality assumption. Other tests may require us to confirm that the variances of 2 samples are similar and therefore satisfy the equal variances assumption. The third step is to calculate the test statistic. There are different hypotheses tests and they will each have their own test statistic. We will cover each of these hypotheses tests in detail in another video. 4 of the hypotheses tests that you will cover in first year statistics are the 1 sample Z test, the 1 sample T test, the 2 sample T test, and the paired T test. The fourth step is to calculate the p-value for the test. This can be calculated using Excel. You will need to install the Analysis Toolpak add-in in Excel. We'll cover calculating the p-values using Excel when we learn each of these hypotheses tests in detail. The fifth step is to make the decision to reject or not reject the null hypothesis by comparing the p-value to the significance level of 0.05. If the p-value is less than 0.05, we can reject the null hypothesis. In other words, we have evidence to suggest the null hypothesis is false. However, if the p-value is greater than 0.05, we do not reject the null hypothesis as there is insufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis. This does not mean that we accept the null hypothesis to be true. Finally, the 6th step is to write a conclusion to answer the research question and explain the results of the hypothesis test. Was there significant evidence to reject the null hypothesis? What does this mean in terms of the research question? Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found this video helpful and will watch the next video where I'll explain 2 of the hypothesis tests in detail.